For the latest, let's cross to our correspondent in Kyiv, Gulliver Cragg. Gulliver, we've been hearing mixed signals about who has the upper hand in Bakhmut for weeks. What more do we know about the reality on the ground there?
Well, Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner group, has put out this video saying that they've raised the Russian flag over the city hall. And people who know Bakhmut well say that, judging by what's in the background, this looks plausible. It looks like he really was there. The Ukrainian army have not confirmed this. In their report, they talk about having pushed back numerous attacks by the Russian forces inside Bakhmut, but they do not specifically mention the city hall, which I think perhaps means that it's a tacit admission, because otherwise they would probably explicitly deny it. But of course, I don't think there's any such thing as legal control over a city as Yevgeny Prigozhin claims to have, especially considering that the city hall is, of course, not functioning. Like all of Bakhmut city centre, it's very severely damaged. It's a symbolic victory, certainly, for the Russians, but it doesn't mean that the fight for Bakhmut is over. The Ukrainian armed forces still occupy a sizable chunk of the city centre of Bakhmut and say that they're going to fight on.
Now, Gulliver, zooming out a little bit, there were some commemorations around Kyiv in the region to mark Russia's pullback 1 year ago. Tell us more about that and the symbolism there.
Well, yeah, it was 1 year ago that there was really an unexpected victory for the Ukrainian armed forces, who pushed the Russians, who had clearly wanted to take the Ukrainian capital, back and pushed them out of the whole of Kyiv region. And all weekend in various cities there have been commemorations of this, commemorations of the victory, but also of the tragedy and of the revelations of the war crimes committed against civilians in places like Bucha. I went this weekend to both Bucha and to Borodyanka, which is a bit further out. And Bucha, apart, of course, from all the sadness and the commemorations of the tragedy and the visit to the cemetery by the president, there is something of an optimistic atmosphere in that there is very, very visible reconstruction going on. Large parts of the city have been fully rebuilt. I mean, important places, supermarkets and so on, that were in ruins are now no longer in ruins. They're open and functioning. Borodyanka contrasts very much with this. In Borodyanka, yesterday, they had a market to raise money for the army. They unveiled a new monument. There was something of a celebratory atmosphere with lots of patriotic songs being sung, but scratch the surface and people are complaining there hasn't been the kind of reconstruction there that there has been in Bucha and Irpin.
Gulliver Cragg bringing us the latest from Ukraine. Thank you so much for your continued reporting.